we do hope you have been enjoying our themed content campaign, which we have been hosting in association with our friends and partners at Landlord. We've called it Digitisation of the Landlord Lifecycle, and we have been looking at the different phases of the landlord lifecycle and where digital tools, products and services can be used to enhance your landlord life. And we're now into week 3 of our campaign, and this is the ownership, management and growth part of the landlord lifecycle. And this is the longest phase of said cycle, because you could be in a relationship with an investment property for 20 or 30 years. We're all aware how important it is to understand that buy-to-let is a very long-term investment. And during this phase, you will be working with your tenants, and your tenants are your clients, and you have a legal obligation to provide a safe and compliant home for them. So throughout this phase and this week, we're going to be talking about managing your property portfolio. And once again, for this installment, I'm joined by Aviram Shahar, CEO and co-founder of Lendlord. And Aviram, when we talk about management, you can't talk about management without talking about tenants, can you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of the process. It's part of the package of being a landlord, and part of your portfolio management is your tenants and tenancies. And it's important first, to track all the historical tenancies, the vacancies you had on the property, and also the existing tenancies details. It starts with the deposits that you currently basically hold, and the deposits, different deposit schemes, the frequency of the rent payments, the payment schedule, and basically manage also the interactions with your tenants during the tenancy period. So of course it's a crucial part of like being a landlord, and manage this data is so important. And it starts, of course, when you just start look for new tenants and onboard new tenants.
Indeed, and we spoke in the pre-acquisition phase how important it is to find the tenant demand before you create the supply for those tenants. So if you've reached the ownership, management and growth phase, you will already have acquired a property where you know that there is very strong tenant demand for that type of property. And Aviram, we're going to talk today about tenant onboarding. And this is a process that has kind of fairly recently been digitized, and both Property Tribes and Landlord have partnered with Checkboard, who are one of the forerunners in this part of the sector in terms of tenant referencing. And we both believe that COVID has massively amplified the risks, and that more robust tenant referencing, well, it's always been important, because the best way to never experience the bad tenant is never to let one step foot over the threshold of your property. So it's always been important, but perhaps even more so now. And now we've got a digital platform like Checkboard that does instant references using integrations like open banking, and Landlord can be integrated with Checkboard as part of the management of tenants on the Landlord platform. So it's very, very exciting that all these products and services are linking together to make landlord life easier.
Right. Yes, absolutely. The integration with Checkboard basically allows our users to complete the entire onboarding process in one platform. So they already use Landlord to manage their data on the existing properties and the existing tenancies. And now they can also use Landlord to onboard prospective tenants, keep their details, and start the tenant referencing process using the integration with Checkboard. And it's quite a streamlined process. You will see it in the demo after our conversation. The tenants will receive a magic link that will link to an app of Checkboard, and in a few clicks, it will start the process In the end of the process, the landlord will receive the report, and this will be also available on his landlord account. So basically, the entire process can be completed in one platform. And their business model of Checkboard will basically allows unlimited checks for a specific party for the entire month. And it's like part of our premium package. So for users that basically want to initiate the tenant referencing first digitally and the second one in one platform, they now can do it.
I think this goes back to what we've kind of been trying to promote and advocate through the course of these videos, is how as more and more integration occurs, you can do more and more on one platform. And Lendlord, the integrations are coming in all the different modules and really helping landlords just live their life off a dashboard. But I think you've also highlighted some of the other things that we both know and love about digital, and that is the speed. With Checkboard, you also get that transparency because it takes a snapshot of the tenant's bank account, so it's very up to date. It's not time lagging, you know, like often a lot of reports do, and it's all on an audit trail. It's all very transparent. The tenant can interact online as well. So I just think that when landlords actually understand the benefits of these kind of integrations, that there won't be any, you know, there won't be any going back to the old ways of like writing a letter to the previous landlord and waiting for them to answer. You know, this brings a whole new level of transparency and robustness to the referencing process.
Yeah, absolutely. It's much more efficient, streamlined, faster process, and everything is in one place. So yeah, absolutely. It's a game changer.
It is. It's a game changer. Well, what we're going to do now is we're going to jump across to a webinar that Aviram had already recorded with Checkboard about the integration between Checkboard and Lendlord and how to use it and get the most out of it. And also below this video, we'll pop our introductory video to Checkboard, which also explains about digital tenant referencing. So once again, we do stress that it's really important to robustly reference any tenants you're thinking of letting into your buy-to-let property, and this is one of the most efficient ways to do it. So please do watch the webinar for further information. And if you have any questions about this, please do drop them on the thread or indeed the video, and Aviram will be pleased to answer them. But we'll jump across to the tenant referencing webinar now.
Okay, so now touch how you can add a prospect tenant. So again, from My Tenants, click on Add Prospect. Very similar page. You see here it's prospect. If I click on it, it will be active. And for this example, I'm using the prospect. Put the tenant name. Email address. Email address is important here because it will be used to send the tenant referencing link. And another important thing is to attach it to a property. So let's say that this property is now is to let, and I'm looking for tenants, and I have several tenants. I can add all the tenants to the platform, and then I can send the tenant referencing link. So something important. So in order to use the tenant referencing, you need to upgrade to Landlord Premium, and then you get 5 properties for 1 month. And each property basically for 30 days you get unlimited tenant referencing for this specific property. So basically you can send it to as many prospects that you want during these 30 days. The premium plan of Landlord includes also the link in the bank account and the unlimited postcode searches if you use the deal analyzer and you want to do due diligence to a postcode, zero integration and automation of the rents tracking, and now something that we just added, the unlimited tenant referencing checks. In order to show you how it works, I will go now to the test environment, because we want to use, James will use the link to show you the tenant experience. So I will add the email. James, should I use your email, or basically you will use a different link after that?
If you use my email, Aviram, we can then show the email that the tenant receives and the journey from then on.
Let's select the property. Okay, so after I added entered the name and the email and a property, these are, I think, the three things that you need to put. You can click on send a reference link. Then you will receive this pop-up. And the email is the email of your prospect tenant. And you have a message. The message that the tenant will receive will include the magic link to start the tenant referencing process. So I will click send, and then we will go to James to show the experience from the tenant side. This is basically our next topic. Once the tenant referencing is done, you will be able to review the report, the referencing report from your landlord account. So our next topic is, I showed how you can send a tenant referencing request to the prospect tenant. And the next topic that James will take over and show you is how the tenant referencing process basically is working from the tenant's perspective.
Aviram, just before we jump over to James, we've had one question here, which James may be able to show us as he goes on to his demo, which has come from Lewis. He said if he uses open rent referencing and the tenant passes, he's offered guaranteed rent guarantee insurance. James, perhaps you can talk about any insurances that you're able to offer when you do your demo in a moment. And we've got another question about from Ian about integrations with accountancy packages, but I think perhaps we can deal with that one a bit later on in the webinar.
Yeah, we can answer it on the question and answer session. Yes,
sure.
Okay, perfect.
Just for the recording, James, I will repeat the topic, and then I'll let you. Okay, so the next topic is how the tenant referencing of Checkboard, basically the process is working, and James will take over and do the demo.
Thank you very much for that, Aviram. I'm going to just share my screen now. I think you need to give me permissions to share. So I'm going to share my screen and kind of show the journey a tenant goes through once they land, once they receive the link. And following showing this demo, I would answer that question I believe we had from with Lewis. So when the tenant received the email, this is what the email says, and they just have to click on start to begin the check. As soon as they press start, it will take a couple of seconds and take them straight to the Checkboard app. Now, if they don't have the app on their phone, it will take them to the App Store to download the app. When they land here, they'll see all the information relevant to the check, the property address, the amount that they're going to be renting it for, and just to clarify some of the information about the property in question. So they click begin and select that they're a tenant in this case. The reason why you've got landlords is because we work with other platforms and they do landlord checks instead of tenant checks. So we've got that flexibility in there. So your tenant will select that they're a tenant. you've got Face ID now, so just kind of authenticating. And then they begin to check. They have the choice to understand what information we share with you, the landlord, and they can just click that to find out what information we will share, the kind of information that we capture from them. We do an identity check, we verify that their financial information, and we do a soft credit check as well. Now, they continue to check. You have to do the identity check. With the identity check, we scan their passport. I've already done it in this case. I wanted to spare everybody seeing my ugly face in my driving license. So hey, there you have it. And after they scan their identity document, they can then take a selfie or facial scan to ensure that they are who they say they are, and they're the same person providing the ID documentation. They enter some basic information like the email address, the residential address as well, and how long they've lived there. Once they've done this, we capture the employment status of the person. This is where we find out if they're employed, self-employed, unemployed, if they're a student, or if they're retired. So we cater for all these different rental profiles. We ask them what the occupation is. We grab the occupation list that insurers use. In this occasion, I'm just going to just select CEO, just it's the easiest thing to select. And we ask them what shift pattern they work at the moment. After they've done that, we now come to the verification of a person's income to ensure that you as a landlord are protected and you're getting accurate information. With Checkboard, we have a process that they can follow, which relies on open banking, quite safe and secure, and we provide you accurate information. They can also go through a manual flow, which we provide to tenants that do not want to, not too sure what happened there. Did my screen stop sharing? Yeah, it did. Oh. Sorry about that. I think my, because my phone just locked, it just stopped sharing the screen. So if they do not want to go through the open banking flows, we have a manual step whereby we verify their documentation manually. So let's start off, let's just mainly focus on the open banking flow. Once they click and confirm their income, we present them with some information to explain to them what they're about to do. What is open banking? We give them a bit of education there, and how we use open banking. We don't obviously, they then kind of link their accounts effectively. I've already linked some bank accounts on here. So for the purpose of this demo, we're going to use the test bank account that we have on our system. I come into it and I can select any transactions that are relevant to this tenant reference. The transactions I should be selecting as a tenant is the income transactions that I receive. So on this occasion, I will select cleverlease.com because that is the income transaction that I receive within this demo bank account. It would then ask me what type of income this is, and I have got several choices. I can select if it's employment income. If I receive child benefits or anything as such, I can also select that. I'm not sure if you wanted to, if you took a look at that, you've got child tax credits right at the top there. So you can select child tax credits as well. Now, I'm just going to select that just employment income, and I'm going to proceed on to the next step. Now, after I've selected my income, I can add multiple incomes if I wanted to, of course. Let's just do that for a sake, just to evidence exactly what that will look like. That's just adding the child tax credits in there. So now you can see that you've got the child tax credit and you've got my employment income. So proceeding on to the next step. Here we verify the person's previous rent conduct. Now, some landlords may be used to doing a landlord reference and asking a previous landlord for information about the tenant. We like to rely on factual data. We like to rely on how the tenant has paid their rent and how regular that has been, if there have been any fluctuations in the rental payment that they've made. So I'm going to select my rental payment on this occasion. And here there is a rent classification there already, so it's quite easy to select. Just going to click rental payment, select my rent, and I can also select I do not pay rent if that is actually the circumstance I'm in. Once that's all done, all I have to do now is press send, and that is the check generated, and the report will be generated at our end to present to you as the landlord. Now, in the event where I do not pass the reference, it would say, so if everything is okay, it will just say sent, allowing you to make the decision. If I do not pass the reference, we tell the tenant will be made aware straight away. It will say support needed. And when they click on that, they'll be able to invite the guarantor straight away. So you don't have to, send out another link or do anything else. We automatically handle the guarantor invitation for you and on your behalf. So that brings us to the close of the actual process that the tenant goes through. Aviram, I'm going to hand back over to you. And if you would kindly like to give me the sharing access now, the other me, so I can show what the document looks like.
Yes.
Thank you. So as part of the report that we get back, I've had to make some edits to the document to obviously, conceal some of my information, of course. So essentially, as you were aware, we did an identity check already, which has been confirmed. The credit history will say refer on this occasion because it didn't pick me up. I didn't use my real address. So that would have been a reason why. You've got, if I did have any TCJs, we'll tell you about it, and we'll also let you know the credit score. You've obviously got an AML check, which we include as a standard, i.e. you can find out if the person you're renting to is a politically exposed person, or if they have any sanctions globally. It might be overkill for a landlord, but this is something some estate agents want. So we provide that as a standard. Then we move over to the income sections. Everything you see here is obtained from open banking. The person's employment income, how much they earn each month, and the price that you've put in there is obviously something you grab from Landlord, the rental figure. We tell you the employer's name as it is displayed in their bank account. So if they say something other than their employer, let's say, for example, somebody tries to be clever and says, oh no, I had a refund from Tesco. It will show on their Tesco refund. And obviously it will show 1 month. So when you receive the report, okay, listen, sorry mate, I'm not an idiot. Don't take me for an idiot. Get a check again. And essentially it will tell you how long the person has been receiving this income for, because you grab that information from open banking, saving you the time of having to contact the employer to find out how long they've been there or what's the status of their employment. If there have been any changes in their income, i.e. it's not been stable, maybe they do 0 hour, they're on a 0 hour contract, it would, it will be reflected here in the income trend that we obtain. If it's a fluctuating income, you can obviously then, ask the tenants a bit more questions about that to find out why they're fluctuating. Were you on a furlough scheme, or was there something else going on in the background? Now, on this report, I selected the previous rent as not applicable.
James?
Yes, Aviram.
There is a question from Lucy.
Sure. I can't actually see the question. Oh, there you go.
What if they have income every week and different amounts?
Yes. So if they receive different amounts each week, what we do is we have the same system that the banks use to assess someone's income. We average out the weekly income that they receive for a month and tell you what the monthly income is based on the weekly amount that they earn. So everything will always be displayed on a monthly basis, and we would essentially average it out over the year, the past 12 months for you. So everything you're seeing here about the income trend and how long they've been with that employer, that is information obtained over the last 12 months. So if they've been receiving weekly income for the last 12 months, it will be displayed, the average weekly amount will be put together with a monthly figure and presented to you as such. Now we also do a check, so as I mentioned with the previous rent, we do the exact same check if they've been paying the rent on time. Thank you very much, Lucy. If they've been paying the rent on time, this will be displayed to you in this exact same format here. You've got payment trend, you have if it's been fluctuating, if they've been paying the landlord not on time, or there've been some delays with the dates, it would be reflected in the report that we present to you, and how long they've been paying that as well. So if somebody says I've been rented for 3 months, well, we're showing that you've been rented for 6 or you've been rented for 1 month. Sorry, I've got my daughter in the background, so I do apologize. Now, we also run a search on their previous addresses, and we will display to you all the places that this person has lived, in case you needed to query something about their previous address history. And finally, we provide you with a rating, which we have given the tenant based on the information that we obtained about them. A gold rating means the tenant is, gold standard, let's call it that. Silver, and you've got bronze. If you want to find out more about what the ratings mean, we've got an explanation page which tells you what the ratings mean. A gold tenant means they've got fair credit score and they earn more than 3 times the rent amount. Silver, they earn more than 2.5 times the rent amount, and if they earn less than 2.5 times the rent amount, we would put that as a cross, typically because for rent guarantee purposes, the tenant has to be earning more than 2.5 times the rental figure, and everything else is presented here to help you as a landlord know what you are required to do. So that brings me to the end of the report presentation.
James,
yes.
we have one more question also from Lucy. How is the data protection safeguarded on your system?
So all our information and all the information that we obtain is stored securely and is encrypted. So the document that we provide you can't be accessed by anyone unless you decide to provide that document to someone else. All our systems are stored with in secure cloud servers, and the person providing the check or the person doing the check consents to giving you the information at the end of the flow when they click on send. So you don't get access to any of this information unless they consent to giving you that information. And as you saw through the app flow that I was showing earlier, we tell the person what information we are going to be sharing, and we're very upfront with them. This is what's going to be happening. We're not going to be sharing all their bank transactions. As you can see, you don't see all the bank transactions. You only see the information relevant and the information that they are willing to share with you as a landlord.
I do hope you found that webinar excerpt about digital tenant referencing to be interesting, and that it encourages you to try these digital products and tools, because they really do make landlord life so much easier. And of course, as a landlord, you also have legal obligations to provide a safe and compliant home for your tenant. And even if you're using a letting agent on a fully managed basis, the buck still stops with you. So you do need to make sure that you are compliant at all times. And Lendlord has a module that helps with compliance, and there are some aspects of this that can be digitized. So I hope you'll join me tomorrow, where we start to dig a little bit deeper into the ownership, management and growth phase, and we're going to move on to digitization of tenant and property management compliance. So please do join me tomorrow. I'll see you there.